an announcement from Terry.
The Australian ballot voting is officially open from 10 to 7 in the back. The entrance is there, the exit is over here.
So anybody who's a legal voter in the town can vote. 10 to 7. Okay. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to read the warnings for both of the meetings. You'll see why when I'm done. Warning for the Jamaica School District 2018 annual meeting. The legal voters of the town school district of Jamaica, Vermont are hereby notified and warned to meet at the Town Hall in Jamaica on Tuesday, March 6, 2018 at 10 a.m. to act on the following articles. Article 1 will be to elect a moderator for the term of 1 year. Then if you go to page 4, this is the warning. The legal voters of the town of Jamaica and the county of Windham and the state of Vermont are hereby notified and warned to meet at 1 p.m. at the town hall in said town of Jamaica on the first Tuesday in March 6, 2018, to transact the following business and act upon the following article. The first article is to elect a moderator for a term of 1 year. Why I read both those warnings is that what we can do is vote on a moderator for both meetings at one time. And therefore, I'm going to hand that election over to Paul Frazier.
And I am Paul Frazier, before mentioned. We need nominations from the floor for the position of moderator for the town meeting for 1 year. Do I have any nominations? I have one in the back.
Nominate Greg Jolly.
Greg Jolly has a nomination.
Second.
I have a second.
Move the nominations to close.
He's our boss. Nomination movement to be closed. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor that we close the nominations, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the nominations are now closed. All in favor of Greg Jolly as our town moderator for the next year, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Hearing none, Mr. Jolly, you have done such an excellent job. You have been reinstated.
What I want to do just really quickly before we go into the school board meeting is go through a few menu items, just so we're clear about some things that are up and coming. There are 2 surveys up here, and one of them is the Grace Cottage survey, and it's also tied in with the Brad Memorial Hospital, and the Brad Retreat and Vermont Department of Health are currently conducting a county-wide community health needs assessment. The first and most important part of the process is to survey residents of the town they serve to learn what people identify as their most pressing health care concerns and needs. That survey is right here. Pick it up and fill it in and put it in the box, and it will help them discover what are the needs of the towns in real time. There's also a West River Valley Thrives Community Health and Wellness Survey. So a lot of paperwork here, and that goes in this box. Please fill that out also. We also want to be reminded that at 12 is the Jamaica Community Church Town Meeting Lunch right across the street, and it is $8 for adults and $4 for children under 12. Very good. Moving along. What I'd like to remind people that this is a polling place today. There is an election going on, as Terry announced, and therefore we cannot talk about any issues or candidates on the slate in this building because this is a polling place and it is against state law to campaign in any way. Just want to make that clear for everybody. The other announcement I want to make is BCTV is here again, recording this meeting, and it will be, you want to check your cable channel 10 listings for a second viewing where you can enjoy sitting on the couch, making commentary, and watch the slow motion replay. Later, I'm not sure when, our state rep Kelly Pajala will join us. At that point, I will ask the body that she could address us. We'll suspend our business while she speaks to us, and then we'll reconvene on the business after she's done. There's supposed to be a Doyle poll also. Keep your eyes open for that. It hasn't arrived. The other thing that you've noticed is that when you're signing in, these badges that you are wearing means that you're legal voters. So any vote, written vote that comes up, or any vote that comes up here, you legally can vote. You also got a package of green slips in an envelope. Those are your official ballots. Because what we're doing here is making sure that only the legal voters of the town are voting. And this green signifies that. If you vote on any other colored piece of paper, it will be considered a soiled vote. It will be counted, but it will not be counted yea or nay. It will only be recognized as having been counted, but it will not count in the tally. So just be clear on that. Now, just a minute, one more thing. As I've gotten more into the reviewing of town meeting law, which we run this meeting by Robert's rules, as amended by the Vermont Law Code, which throws wrenches all over the place. There's a few things that I'd like to institute in this meeting just to bring us up to standard, basically. The first one is, once we have discussion on the floor, I'd like people to stand up and state their name when they're speaking. That'll facilitate people being able to hear you, and also facilitate the camera picking you up, and also hearing you for people later. The second thing is, please wait to be called on, and don't interject. If you're getting excited, believe me, I'll see it. I'll make sure you're in the queue to speak. And remember, when you get up and you speak, you're addressing your questions to the moderator. And then I will direct them as I see fit, or ask who would like to address that. Because what the idea is, I'm making sure the traffic goes where it needs to be. And I don't want to get into a back and forth. Considering this, once you have spoken on an issue, please wait until everybody else in the room who wishes to speak to that issue has spoken, and then I can go around for a second time. And the same thing again, third time, fourth time, as long as we want to go. But I want to make sure everybody has a sequential way of speaking, and that nobody feels like they're being butted out or blocked from speaking. In Robert's rules, it says that if somebody gets up to make a statement, they can go for 10 minutes. If it's all right with the body, I would respectfully suggest we keep it to 3 minutes. I'm not going to be standing here with a stopwatch. I'll be generous like European football, how long they go, soccer games, but please keep it condensed. If I feel you're going over, I will stop, and I will ask the body if they will yield more time to the speaker. It is up to you to make that decision, not me. And then the other thing that's very interesting to me is that I'll talk the article, we'll get a motion, second the motion, then we open up discussion. Discussion goes on, then somebody calls the question. This is the thing I did not know. Once the question is called, then we need to have a two-thirds vote on the floor to accept the closing of debate. In the past, I thought that all you did was close debate once it was declared. No, we have to have 2/3 of the body to agree with that. If we do not receive 2/3 of the body, then discussion is opened up again. And almost immediately somebody can say, close discussion, and we'll go through that again until something breaks. One final thing, if there's an issue that comes up that is going to be a vote on the floor, there's 3 ways of doing it. 1, voice. Yay or nay. If I feel that there's, I can't tell who won, then I will ask, it's called the division of the House. I will ask people to stand for the yay, I will ask people to stand for the nay. There will be a body count. Or, we can forego all that if I have 7 voters on the floor who want a paper ballot. We automatically go to paper ballot. And you can ask for a paper ballot at any time a vote comes up. Those are the ground rules, as far as I know. So, turning to the Patients School Board, I will turn it over to them for Article 2, to hear the report of the professional auditors. Is that correct? No, sorry, I'm on page 4 instead of page 54. Let's try that again. Okay, no, we go to the election of Jamaica School District officers as required by law. The first one is a school district director for a 3-year term. Do I hear any nominations for this 3-year term?
Who's the incumbent?
Who is the incumbent?
Did you want to talk about the first one?
Oh, did I skip again?
Page
No.
54.
Yeah,
That's
55.
just about the Australian ballot. I know, it's over there.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes. So one school director for 2 years of a 3-year term, correct?
Yeah.
To elect the school director from the nominees residing in Jamaica to serve on the, I'm sorry, on page 54, Article 1.
That's actually an Australian ballot question, but she just wanted to say something about it. Just talking about the ballot itself, the question. Just explaining, because there's been some confusion about what the position is.
Right.
That's all she wants to talk about.
Sorry.
Technically, that's a form of campaign.
Even if we don't mention.
However, the body can overrule the moderator.
Yeah.
No, I have to have a vote.
So what's the question?
The question is,
How about this? Is everyone clear about how we're voting for school board members? We have votes that are happening here today. We also have a poll set up for open positions that you're actually going to the poll and voting for people.
correct.
Does anyone want an explanation about that?
Yes, please.
If they vote me, you're not talking about candidates, it's an explanation of the position. That's all you can do.
Yes.
And this is for the West River Modified Union Education District Board. Correct. Now then, how many people would like to hear information on this position? Aye. Aye. Those opposed? Abstaining?
Thank you. So just to clarify, this first warning is about us voting at the poll. And from now on, we will be voting for school board positions by ballot, Australian ballot. This will be the last year that you vote for your local JVS school board positions. There are some people who are interested. We can't talk about them. But what I can say is, if you want to know about people who are interested, a good place for the conversation is probably over at the lunch. There are people who are qualified and willing to fill the positions, and it would be really helpful if people understood that a little bit better. So at the lunch, people can talk about it and who those people are. This past year, Drew Hazelton, he's still serving, and Patty Dixon was serving for us. She did a great job, but she is no longer serving. So that's an open position that we have for Jamaica. That Jamaica has 2 positions, and then there's at-large positions. So one of the Jamaica positions is open, and that's a write-in today. And then there are 2 at-large positions that are open. There's someone on the ballot, and there are some other people looking to be written in, so you can find out more about it at the lunch. The positions that you're voting today for the school board, the JVS school board, we will vote the full terms, whether they're 3-year, 2-year, but those positions will end December 2019. This will be the last budget that this local board puts together, the one we vote on today. We will not put together a budget next year. The larger school board puts together the budget for all of the schools. But the JVS school board function will be to help settle out any financial matters or signing over of assets or anything like that that has to happen until December of 2019. Questions?
Is that clear to everybody? The difference between the 2 boards? For the West River Board, you will be balloting. For the Jamaica School, we will be on the floor making the nominations and voting on the floor. Yes?
May I request that we do not, in this morning meeting and even afternoon meeting, not to use abbreviations, but to say the whole word out, the Jamaica
Village
Village
School.
School,
Correct.
for example. I mean,
Okay.
I have WSCDM, Wyndham Solid Waste,
Right.
so I think for everyone to know what we're talking about, it's important.
Very good. I will attempt very hard to adhere to that
Thank you.
because it does make things much clearer. Is that clear to everybody? I will then move on to the, okay, Article 2, and this is the school director for a 3-year term. Do I have nominations from the floor for that 3-year term to serve on the Jamaica School Committee, Jamaica Village School Committee? Any nominations?
Stephanie, the incumbent?
Yes.
So is that still valid for 3 years, even though?
It is. We still vote for the full term, even though it will be ending.
So we're starting with the nomination.
Sophia?
I think you jumped over the auditors.
We're on 55.
School meeting.
No, 55.
She's in the town.
55, Article 2. I have made a mistake, I am sorry. I had started with the town meeting, begins with the auditor's report. That was my mistake. But right now, we're on page 55, Article 2, School Director for a 3-year term. I have no nominations presently.
Sorry. Whose term is up?
Stephanie's.
So Stephanie's.
Well, nominations?
Can I nominate Stephanie again?
Are there other nominations for this 3-year position? Hearing none, I'll close nominations. All in favor of closing nominations, please say aye. Aye. Very good. And I will hear a motion to cast one ballot for Stephanie Amia for this 3-year position. Do I have a motion from the floor?
Motion.
That's from CJ. And may I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Tolberg? All accept this? Yes? Please say aye. Aye. Any no? Congratulations. One down. So the next one is a school director for a 2-year term. And the incumbent is, or the present person who's sitting in that position? It's Jennifer for the Duke. Do I hear any nominations from the floor?
Jennifer.
Okay, I'll give CJ first and Claire the second. Are there any other nominations from the floor for the 2-year position? Hearing none, I declare nominations closed, and we'll do this again. Do I hear a motion to cast one ballot for Jennifer Duke for the 2-year position?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Very good. All in favor of this, say aye. Aye. Excellent. Congratulations. Now we move on to the 3rd position for school director. 1 year is remaining in a 2-year term. Presently, the incumbent is Janet Hamilton. Do I hear nominations?
I nominate Janet Hamilton.
Claire Robinson nominated first, second. Very good. Any other nominations for this 1 remaining year of a 2-year term? Hearing no nominations, I declare them closed. And do I hear a motion to cast one ballot for Janet Hamilton for this position? Mr. Tolberg, second. Joel Spillerman. And all in favor of this, say aye. Aye. Congratulations. School director for a 1-year year remaining in a 2-year term, and the present individual is?
Christina Robinson.
Christina Robinson. Do I hear nominations from the floor for this one remaining year of a two-year term?
Andrew Fox. I so move, I said.
Oh, very good. So,
Christina.
Christina, very good. Second?
Second.
Very good. All right. Are there any other nominations for this position? Hearing none, I'll declare nominations closed. All good with that, say aye. Aye. Thank you. Do I hear a motion to cast one ballot for Christina Robinson for this position?
So moved. Motion.
Very good. And do I have a second? Very good, thank you. All in favor of this, please say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Congratulations. This is your school board for the Jamaica Village School. Long may it rain. Article 3, shall the voters of the Jamaica School District authorize the school directors to borrow in anticipation of taxes, grants, or other revenue? Do I hear a motion to open this to debate?
I so move.
Thank you. Raymond? Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Very good. It's open to the floor. Are there any questions or any comments from the school board? Oh, yes, sorry. Back there, yes?
In anticipation of borrowing, how much are we talking about? The whole budget, the school budget, or taxes, whatever? How much are we talking about?
We don't actually have any anticipated borrowings. This is just a thought to help us if there's a shortfall in the funds until taxes are collected.
Okay.
Yes.
I make a motion, move the question.
Very good. Do I have a second on that? Very good, thank you. Now, this is the part, we've closed down discussion, so I have to have 2/3 of the body agree with this. Do I have 2/3? Show of hand, please. Thank you, that wasn't easy. Very good. Then the question is now moved. All in favor of accepting Article 3, which is, shall the voters of the school district authorize the school directors to borrow in anticipation of taxes, grants, or other revenue? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? So passed. Moving on to Article 4. Shall the voters authorize the school directors to spend unanticipated funds such as grants and/or gifts? Do we hear a motion to the floor to open this up to discussion to accept this?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Second. Very good. The floor is open for discussion or questions.
Are there any anticipated?
These are unanticipated, so we don't know them. But any grants that end up coming our way to be able to put on the things like the circus or, we apply for grants. And we need to be able to access those grants if we want to do programming without a town vote.
CJ?
Just curious, what grants do you get?
The circus is an example, the young circus.
That one I think comes from the Vermont Arts Council.
Yeah.
We've gotten money from Stratton, their foundation.
There's backpack grants, food grants, there's a lot of different ones that are special, special need for children grants. Laura's actually very active in going after the grants, especially technology grants that have allowed the school to have access to things we wouldn't normally be able to, especially because we can't budget for them.
I have a point of information for Mr. Duke. Would you like to share it?
No, it was a sarcastic comment, not a...
Sure.
There's a list of the grants on page 61.
There's a list of the grants on page 61 for anybody who's interested in the particulars and why we have this article.
One of the things that is also happening for grant money would be the soda cans that are being picked up by people from the 5th and 6th grade. And that has been happening quite a bit lately, so that goes into from the transfer station. So that's income, not tremendous income, but ongoing.
Every little bit helps.
Any other questions?
Make a motion, move the question.
Very good, thank you. Do I have a second on that? Second. Very good. Now then, I need 2/3 of the body to accept it. We're closing debate. Do I have 2/3 of the body? Hands, please. Yes? No? Abstaining? Very good. Now we can move the question. And the question is for Article 4. Shall the voters authorize the school directors to spend unanticipated funds such as grants and/or gifts? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say no. So passed. Very good. We'll move on to Article number 5. Shall the voters of Vermont authorize the school directors to withdraw $51,000 from the facilities fund and move monies to the general fund to help reduce the homestead tax rate and avoid excess spending threshold penalty? Do we have a motion to accept the article? Just to open up for discussion.
I saw him.
Very good. Second?
I'll second it.
Very good. We're getting a team back here. Very good. The floor is open for discussion and questions. Who has a question on this article, which is, shall the voters of Jamaica authorize the school directors to withdraw $51,000 from the facility fund and move monies to the general fund to help reduce the homestead tax rate and avoid excess spending threshold penalty? Yes, Drew.
An explanation from the school board?
So, we lost revenues this year, Title I revenues, which really was going to push our expense budget up tremendously. Moving these funds helped us to bring the expense budget down. Actually, we lowered it by 1.1%. We do still have $23,000 left in the facilities fund in case of an emergency. The school board, not since I've been on it, but past school boards have been very good about saving money in the facilities funds in case of emergencies, but this is the time where we need to move that fund over to the general fund in order to not cut any more at the school and keep the budget below the penalty level. Anything, I don't, people probably understand that if we go over the threshold, the penalty is that we pay double for every dollar over the threshold. So it was really important to the school board that we keep that threshold, keep below the threshold to avoid the penalty, as well as keep as much programming as we could. We did cut a position this year, unfortunately.
Can I just add to that? So yeah, we did cut the general expenses 1.1% by cutting a position and doing some other things. But with the increase in the Leland Gray budget and all the other things coming from the state, already the tax rate is going to go up really high. So although we have paid the penalty in the past, there have been a couple of times, at least once, where we did pay the penalty. This time it was just going to be exorbitantly high, and we felt like this is the time where we just had to take what we are proposing. We feel like we really need to take the money from the facilities fund to bring it down.
Yes, over here and then Drew.
So if there is an emergency at the school, such as the furnace blowing up or a hole in the roof and you have to replace it and it's over $22,000, what happens?
Then it does impact us, and then we have to start to pay bonds and take loan. But we haven't had that type of issue that's happened. 23,000. We've evaluated, we looked at it, and we felt that that was a good amount of money to keep in the fund in case something does happen to the furnace specifically.
Any other questions before I start going into the second round of questioning? I'll go back to Drew, and then I'll go back to you here.
One reason that you...
No, excuse me, Drew.
Oh, sorry,
Thank
Drew.
you.
I think it's important for the taxpayers to understand that a year from now, when the new school board takes over, any reserve funds that we have become the property of the new district and not necessarily benefit our school. So having large reserve funds as we go into this new adventure doesn't necessarily help to provide a new roof or a new furnace for Jamaica. It goes into a general fund for all the towns together. And in the event this year, if there was a need to replace a furnace and the school board did have the deficit spend, that's going to get projected forward onto the new unified or modified unified union school district next year. So utilizing these funds, and I would suggest utilizing more funds locally is not necessarily a bad thing for the town, since we did raise those funds through taxes.
Yes.
He answered my question.
It wasn't our intention to deplete the funds prior to the merger. It was our intention to make sure we utilize those funds properly to help with our tax base this year.
Are there any other questions on this article? Thank you.
I second.
I can only do so much, folks. Thank you. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded that we close discussion on article number 5. All in favor of closing discussion, please say, I need 2/3 hands. Opposed? Very good. I almost had a double voter there. So, we are moving on to the question. Article 5, shall the voters of Jamaica authorize the school directors to withdraw $51,000 from the facility fund and move monies to the general fund to help reduce the homestead tax rate and avoid excess spending threshold penalty? All those in favor of passing article number 5, please raise your hand for aye. Those opposed? Abstaining? So passed. Thank you. Moving on. We're now moving on to Article 6. Well, one thing I'd like to say as the moderator, what you're seeing here is a technique that they tell you should do. I state the article, we get the 2 motions, I restate it again so people understand what we're discussing. We discuss it, and it's closed down, then I have to restate it again so you understand what you're voting for. So I'm sorry for the repetition, but this is kind of like standard operating procedures, and I'm just trying to get into the groove of it. Therefore, going back to Article 6, shall the voters of the Jamaica School District approve the school board to expend $1,210,877, which is the amount the school board has determined to be necessary for the ensuing fiscal year. It is estimated that this proposed budget, if approved, will result in education spending of $17,410 per equalized student. This projected spending per equalized pupil is 2.71% higher than the spending for the current year. Will somebody move to open this up for discussion? Have a first?
So moved.
Second? Very good. We are open to discussion now. I'm going to restate this again. This is what we're discussing. Article 6, shall the voters of the Jamaica School District approve the school board to expend $1,210,877, blah, 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 which is the amount the school board has determined to be necessary for the ensuing fiscal year. You have it in your book. You can see the rest of it. I've stated it. Is there any discussion or questions to come? Yes?
Did the school board talk about the position that was eliminated?
Well, Laura put before us a budget. She put before us 3 different budgets, actually, and one of them was including cutting a position. The position cut will be left to the administration to decide how they're going to make that cut. Go ahead.
She did say, though, that it would be, I mean, there were 2 positions potentially cut. One was the
reading specialist.
Yeah, the reading specialist, reading and math specialist, and the other was I think primarily focusing on library and doing lots of other little jobs in the school too. But we, after a lot of discussion, decided to keep the position of the reading specialist and to eliminate the library. We believe it's going to be the library position. It is up to Laura to make the final decision, but that's what we were intending to eliminate. It was a very difficult decision because we know everyone who works there. It's really sad. But even with that, we were still way over and just felt like we had to do something.
It's a direct result in declining enrollment. The per pupil spending at Leland and Gray this year is $20,000 equalized spending per pupil, 4.6% increase. We felt it really important that we keep it low as best we could. And so it's a para position, it's not a classroom teacher position, but unfortunately, we have to cut in order to be able to support the school and the programs.
One of the main drivers of that is that we lost our Title I funding for a position that the Title I funding can no longer be used to support like specialists in schools with fewer than 100 children or something. So that effectively could have eliminated that specialist position completely, but we didn't want to see that happen, so that's why we asked Laura to try to come up with other ways to get us to a more reasonable spending. So that's why the budget goes up, even though we cut expenses 1.1%, the budget has still gone up because we have lost a big chunk of revenue.
Any other questions for the school board? Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Very good. Do I have 2/3 of the body want to close discussion? Please raise your hands. Very good. Opposed? Very good. Now we're going to move on to the article itself. Article number 6 here. Shall the voters of the Jamaica School District approve the school board to expend $1,210,877, which is the amount the school board has determined to be necessary for the ensuing fiscal year. It is estimated this proposed budget, if approved, will result in education spending of $17,410 per equalized student. This projected spending per equalized student pupil is 2.71% higher than the spending for the current year. I have a motion from the floor to accept this article. Second? Second. Very good. All in favor of passing Article 6, please say aye. Aye. No? Abstain? So passed.
Thank you.
Moving on to Article 7. To compensate the directors of the Jamaica School District $300 each. Seconded. Any questions from the floor? Observations?
Did it get to spend it all in one place?
I don't think this body can determine that. Yes.
Incumbents. I've noticed the line item for the budget, it looks like 2,800, but we're asking them to spend 300 for 5 people. That's only 1,500. Is there a reason?
That includes the person who takes our minutes, that's the administrative pieces that help support the board.
And presently, what do the school board members get?
300.
Okay, very good. Any other questions? Thank you. Do I have a second to move the question? Very good. 2/3 of the body agree that we're shutting down discussions. Please say yes. Just raise it. We're going to go with the hands. I like the hands. I'll change my mind on the next vote. Any opposed? Abstained? Very good. Now, we can go on to actually vote on the article. Article 7, to compensate the directors of Jamaica School District $300 each. Do I have a motion? Thank you. A second? Second. All in favor of passing Article number 7, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? See, I changed my mind. Abstaining? So passed. Okay. Next is Article number 8, to set the Tuesday for the first Tuesday. This is the warrant article, I gotta read it this way. Set Tuesday for the first Tuesday of March 2019 for the annual school district meeting, and that would be the afternoon meeting, because we've been alternating back and forth. But that has to be motion from the floor. I was making an observation, talking out of turn. Yes?
Make a motion to...
No, no. Open up discussion first.
Open up discussion.
Second?
I'll second.
All right, now we can go into discussion, and one of the things we can do in discussion is make amendments, which is a lot of fun. So I'm going to start here, then there, then there.
I'd like to amend it to say set the date for the first Tuesday of March 2019 after the town, immediately following. And can you put that in bold letters, please? Immediately following the town meeting.
Yes, I agree.
I'll second that.
Very good. Got a second. Now, this is an amendment. Do I hear any other amendments to the amendment? You can have 2 amendments on the floor. I would prefer you didn't, but you can. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to vote on this amendment, and the amendment reads, will you please state your amendment?
Bonnie, did you write that? Please take a minute.
Yeah. Okay, so what it's going to read now is to set the March 2019 Jamaica School District meeting for the first Tuesday of March, immediately following the town meeting. 2019. That is the amendment. Do I have a second to that amendment?
Second.
Very good. Now we get to vote. Do you all agree on the amendment? Yes, you voted on the amendment. That is now, now we're going back to discussion, sorry. Now we can open up back to discussion. Yes, Tina. I'm sorry, Drew was first. Are you upset?
Are we discussing the amendment, or we voted on the amendment?
We just voted on the amendment and passed it.
Excellent.
Dave.
Just kind of curiosity to keep me up to speed with this. Come 2019, January 1st, why do we have a school meeting at town meeting if we don't technically have a...
So we are warning a meeting in case there is business that has to be transacted. We will not be voting on a budget. So we are warning the meeting just to, because we will still be an active board at that point until December of 2019. So it's a just in case. We may open, we may say there's nothing to discuss and close.
Thank you. Any other questions? Who's the second? There we go. All right, we got a pattern. All right, so we are now going to vote on accepting Article number 8 as amended. I wish I'd written it down.
Set the date for...
Set the date for the first Tuesday
of
March 2019 to immediately follow the town meeting, March 2019. I have a motion? Second?
Second.
Now we get to vote. Isn't this cumbersome?
Yeah.
All right. All in favor of the amendment of this article, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? So passed. Immediately after town meeting. Moving on. Article number 9. To transact any other business that may legally come before this meeting, this Jamaica School District meeting. Drew, do you want to speak to, this is the time for that. I'd like to recognize Drew Hazelton to try and elucidate for us what's going on between the two boards. Elucidate us.
All right. Big crowd.
Go.
So, this is a really important time in our school discussion. We've been talking about Act 46, school consolidation. I sat up here, 10 years ago, and we had this discussion. It's happening. It's real now. Things are actually going to change. As the board said, this board will stop functioning in December of 2019, but they're not putting a budget together for next year. So the new modified unified union school district board is responsible for redesigning education in our region and coming up with a budget. With the financial issues that currently exist, there was a mention of Leland and Gray's spending at over $20,000 per pupil. There needs to be significant changes in our education delivery model in our unified union district. So the board has started to meet. The board has gotten as far as coming up with a mission and a vision, and is going to spend the next 6 months trying to develop a budget. This is going to be different than most school budgets. Most of the time, the school budget starts with looking at what we did last year, looking at what we did 2 years ago, looking at actual expenditures, and trying to project what those expenses are going to be moving forward. This board is starting with nothing. The school systems, the schools that we have right now, don't exist as of next July 2019. They don't look like this anymore. The teachers that are currently in the schools, all the contracts are being renegotiated, all the administrators, contracts expire in July of 2019. Everything you know about your education system is up in the air starting in July of 2019. And the reason I'm kind of putting this out there is because this is really important. This is where we need input from the public. If you guys want to have your education system designed for your kids, then you've got to get involved. We don't see anybody at our meetings. Nobody has called me up and said, hey, this is what we want our education system to look like. So if you want to have a say in this, now is the time. At lunch, we can, again, talk about candidates. We can talk about kind of the visions we have for the school. But I really do believe it's important for each person to look at, what do you want? Because it's going to change. We can't keep putting budgets forward with $20,000 per pupil. So that means programs are going to change. That means class sizes are going to change. That means staffing is going to change. Lots of things in our district are going to be different in July of 2019. I'll answer any specific questions if I can at this point. Anything else you guys want to add? You've been...
No, we echo the importance of being involved. And there's so many moving parts and so many decisions that need to be made. And, you know, honestly, I think our board looks at it as in a positive way because it's becoming fiscally unobtainable at this point, and decisions do have to be made. When we look at this budget and we think of the things that we need to cut, it's scary, you know, when we're talking about cutting reading specialists and cutting the programs that are really important to our kids. And it's because we can't afford it with the declining enrollment. So getting involved and being a part of the conversation is key. It helps so much to hear what parents want from their kids. When we sit and there's no public and there's nobody participating, it's a lonely job. And we're making decisions that are hard decisions.
The next 6 months is going to be transformational for education. I can't stand here and tell you that Jamaica's Village School is going to look like Jamaica Village School come July of 2019. I can't tell you that there's going to be 6 grades in that class. I can't tell you how many teachers are going to be. You voted on a budget that changed a very small piece of our local school. We're putting together a budget that will completely change our local school. So it's really time to get involved, especially if you have an opinion as to how we educate our kids.
When are your meetings?
All the time.
It says third Monday.
Third Monday.
Third Monday.
I anticipate that schedule will be increased significantly as we attempt to come up with a budget for next year. First thing we have to figure out is, what does our school system look like? So it's really hard to budget when we don't know how many classes we're going to have, how many buildings are going to be open, how many administrators are going to exist. We're at that level. We're at a ground level where we have to actually decide what programs we're going to offer. Everything that exists in our current education system is starting over. We're completely rebuilding the program. So there's a lot of work, yeah.
Are there any things on the table right now that you are looking at in terms of how a school system is going to look? For example, one of the things that I have heard is like traveling teachers moving from school to school. For example, that's one thing. Can you talk about any more?
So as a board, we have not gotten to the point where we've had any specific discussions about what it looks like. Board members have come up with ideas for ways that we could change our education system. Some of those were absolutely involved, you know, teachers moving with different specialties. Some of those included maybe having schools that only have a smaller number of grades so that we can have first grade teachers teaching only first grade as opposed to first and second grade. We've looked at models that, you know, we've discussed looking at models that include, you know, blending kids from Townsend, Newfane, and Jamaica into different cohorts. So it's really all on the table at this point. Where we land over the next 6 months, I'm not sure. But I know it's going to be very different than what you guys are used to seeing. Hopefully, the school meeting next year on the warning, we can spend a little bit of time discussing the modified unified union plan that's going to go into effect in July. So hopefully we'll be able to sit up here with a whole bunch of input from the town and explain to you what your school system is going to look like going forward. There is no going back from here. So everything from this point is moving forward. So, yeah.
What's the state doing to give you guidance on all this? Is that-
Sure. Right in the middle of it, they're working on changing the education funding formula. So everything that we've understood as to the way the system is going to be funded under Act 60 is up in the air at this point. So we talk about how difficult it is to put a budget together and understand the impact on taxes. We went through an entire budget cycle looking at, the way that our education dollars are going to affect the local property tax. And now, if you listen to what they're doing in Montpelier, they're completely changing the way that education funding works. So not only do we not know what the school system is going to look like, we also have no idea what the funding mechanism is going to look like. So it's all coming together in this giant pool of uncertainty for next year. And if I haven't inspired anybody to run for the position, anybody wants my seat, by the way, there's a ton of work that needs to be done. And so many moving parts to try to figure out what does it really look like. And hopefully focusing on the kids when we're done.
You mentioned that we lost the Title I funding because we had less than 100 students. By grouping together, is that going to be like a game plan that if that we could get some of those funds back by grouping?
So some funds, yes, some funds, if we group students together, we can use in different ways. But by grouping students together, becoming a larger district, it affects other funds. And again, those are moving targets too. So as every time we come up with an idea that hopefully will kind of circumvent the reduction in funding, we find out that it caused a ripple effect over here. We lost more funding somewhere else. So I know both boards at this point, the high school board and the local board, have tried to come up with as many different creative solutions to the funding problem as we can. And it's like throwing a rock in a pond. Every time you try and find a solution, the ripple over here has an effect somewhere else.
But all of that's being looked at, how to take advantage of as many, funds that are available. The Title I funds still come to the district. They just can't be utilized the way we used to be able to utilize them. So as being one district, it does give us the ability to have, a bigger viewpoint and see how those funds can be settled into the budget.
Mr. Flowers?
As a retired soldier, I've lived all over the place. And I've been here for going on 40 years. And one of my observations is we have too damn many districts. Years ago, they said, well, in the wintertime, they couldn't get over the mountains, so they had these little districts. But almost everywhere else in the country, a superintendent is responsible for 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 students. That's as many as we have in the whole county. And yet we've got how many superintendents? 5? 3 superintendents? So we could still save a couple $100,000 by making one superintendent. And the argument that the superintendents had so many school boards to attend is no longer true.
So I will say that is being looked at. There's likely to be supervisory union consolidation that happens in the middle of this transition for us. Our district has been looked at by the state, and there has been some indication that we will likely get merged with another, or they'll get merged with us, or something to that effect. So in between trying to redesign our education system, we're also going to get to redesign our supervisory system. I'm sure the supervisory board would like people to.
Is there funding available for STEM school? And is that part of the conversation?
There's been conversation around it. There's no funding attached to it. So we have put that on our, again, individual board members have put that on the list of things that need to be discussed over the next 6 months. But we haven't gotten beyond the
What was
concept
that
yet.
question? I didn't hear the question.
STEM funding.
John?
Drew, you mentioned $20,000 for people as a possible spending amount, but if the state changes the formula, it might mean that the amount that Jamaica citizens have to contribute wouldn't change, even though the per pupil amount might go up. And the second thing I'd like to say is I'm sure the board will keep in mind that the more you spend on support services for young children, the less we'll have to spend on citizens who are older through social services and things like that. So it's kind of a cost shifting.
To that point, absolutely. With the state changing the funding formula, we don't know exactly. Maybe 20,000 will be the new normal. I don't anticipate that's going to be the case. I believe we're probably going to be looking at reductions in per pupil spending. But we are seriously looking at the special education budget. And what the studies are showing statewide are that the more services we provide at a younger age, the better the outcome of our students. And ultimately, the better outcome of our students means a reduction in long-term costs through not only our education system, but throughout their lives. So if you want to come down to the board meetings and kind of read some of the studies, what we're going to be talking a lot about are putting highly trained teachers with our neediest students and trying to bring them into our system better than what we do now. There's some data that shows that our special education system hasn't really improved outcomes a whole lot over the last 20 years. So we're looking at ways to improve student outcomes by applying better resources to them.
Back when they we did this thing with the state, each child was $10,000. Now we're at the school for 17, the high school for 20. What do they give as a base number, the state?
So the spending threshold is 17.
What's that?
The spending threshold is 17. The state would like us to be down 14, I think was the state number. So we're significantly above the state recommended spending limit of, I think it's 14 and change.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I just have one, Drew. Could you just explain who's in the district, how many reps on this board each town gets, and how it's structured?
So that's also an easy question. It should be, but it's not. So we are in a modified unified union district because of the union school district that existed before our vote. So as part of the union school district, Newfane, Townsend, Jamaica, and Windham were part of Leland and Gray's union school district. When we voted as a town and all the other towns voted to create the modified unified union school district, Jamaica, Townsend, and Newfane voted to participate.
Brookline?
I'm sorry, Brookline. Brookline is a school district. I forget about them since they merged with Jamaica, or with Newfane. So Brookline is also a town. So it's Newfane, Brookline, Townsend, and Newfane voted in favor of merging. Windham decided not to merge. So that's why it's a modified unified union school district. So the representation is 2 board members from Jamaica, 2 from Townsend, I have to look at the chart, 2 from Brookline, 4 from Newfane? 1 from Brookline, 3 from Newfane. And then Windham's representative sits on the board but can only vote on high school issues, which is going to be very challenging when you're trying to run a combined system. So that's the way your representation works. And then there are at-large seats. And the at-large seats can be run from any town. You can run across the district. So a person from Jamaica can run for an at-large seat, and you're voted on by Townsend, Newfane, Brookline, Jamaica, and Windham for the at-large seats.
And there's 2 at-large?
2 at-large, yes. And the discussion was with the at-large, was to kind of keep the the power balance within the board. There was some concern early on that between Newfane and Brookline, which are now merged, they have 4 seats on the board, and which would give them, for the most part, a majority all the time during voting. So the idea of the at-large is it would help to kind of balance the board power, per se. So
Wyndham has an opportunity to get back on the elementary within like a year grace period. And then if not, they have to come begging on hand and knee.
Yes. So there is a period where Wyndham as a town could revote, and we have to accept them in, but there also is a possibility. Wyndham has applied for a alternative structure. They may or may not get approved an alternative education structure. If they don't, there's a possibility the state could force them to merge with us. All things are also up in the air and have an impact on our students as well as our local tax dollars. So stay tuned to the Wyndham discussion. Nobody really knows what's going to happen there either.
Any other questions? I think you're off the hook.
Thank you.
Thank you. For anybody who's interested in the town report here, you'll see on page 3 a listing of the Select Board, the Planning Commission, the Jamaica Village School, the Jamaica Village School Club, the Little Gray Middle School, the West River Modified Union School District, Jamaica Library Trustees. All in here is listed times and dates when they meet. If you are interested, please show up. You are the public that those boards are serving. If you're not there giving them guidance, then they don't have guidance and they have to go on their own. So please show up. Be the change you want to see. All right, very good. Is there any more business? Yes.
One more thing. Please, if you have thoughts and you can't make the meeting about our education, just let me know. I'd like to hear from people. I think the board wants to hear from people too. If you've got ideas, please tell us. Come see us. Thank you.
Yes.
The Jamaica Village School Board actually meets the 4th Tuesday, not the 3rd Tuesday as it's written in here. We changed it to the 4th Tuesday.
So in your town report, note that the meeting is on the 4th Tuesday for the Jamaica Village School. This body is also a corrective body. I like that. Any other questions or business to come before the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Very good. Thank you. Can I have a second for a motion to adjourn? Very good. Mr. Tover, all in favor of adjourning? Please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? I want to make one more announcement before I officially adjourn you. The town meeting will be at 1 o'clock, as warned. I'd like to make a personal apology to the body. Last year it was, and you'll see it in your minutes, that it was said that we would meet immediately after the school meeting. As a moderator, I should be more on top of these things when these boards, your boards are making these decisions, and it was missed. It was an inadvertent mistake. But since it is warned for 1 o'clock, I'm going to stay with it legally warned because people would assume that since it's warned for 1 o'clock, that's when the meeting is, and if we opened up immediately now, I feel like we might disenfranchise people, and I don't want to be accused for that, or the town be accused for that. So, if people understand that, we'll adjourn, and lunch is across the street, and yes,
One final appeal to please take 1 minute, probably is all it will take to do that health needs assessment survey, and it will be very helpful in directing services, helping us apply for grants that meet those needs, et cetera, et cetera. I really would appreciate it if you would take a minute to fill that out.
And the last thing I'd like to say before I adjourn you until 1 o'clock is that at the beginning I said I'd like for people to stand up and state their names when they were speaking or making motions. I failed on that, so let's try this afternoon to do that because it makes it easier to have it recorded. So please, we're adjourned until 1 o'clock. Thank you. Welcome everybody to the second half. The room's a little warm, but try not to fall Kelly Pajala. So as soon as I open up the meeting, I'll call on her to address us, and then we'll go into the meeting proper. One point I want to make sure that everybody, even if you were here this morning, if you haven't signed back into this meeting, up front, please do. We're just needing to keep track of the voter rolls. You all should have your envelope that has your green ballots in it. Those green ballots are the only ones that are going to be valid when they're put in the box. Any other color, your vote will be counted, but it will be counted as a spoiled ballot. So only the green pieces of paper, please. Okay, it's 1 o'clock. The legal, yeah, I'm in the right place. The legal voters of the town of Jamaica and the county of Windham and the state of Vermont are hereby notified and warned to meet at 1 p.m. at the town hall in said town of Jamaica on the first Tuesday in March 6, 2018, to transact the following business and act upon the following articles. Article 1, we've already been through. We unified the moderator's position by one. We will move on to Article 2, but only after hearing from our state representative.
Thank you. So my name is Kelly Pajala. If anyone hadn't heard, Oliver Olson resigned in November, and Governor Scott appointed me to finish out the last year of his term. So I'm extremely honored to be representing Jamaica and the rest of our district in Montpelier. It is one of the most amazing experiences, aside from raising my children, that I've had the privilege of doing. Before I start speaking about what's been going on up there, I have a House concurrent resolution that was offered by myself and Senators Balin and White, and it is House Concurrent Resolution 254, honoring Karen Amidon for her devotion to community service in the town of Jamaica. Whereas the loving dedication that Karen Amidon devotes to the well-being of the Jamaica community is long and standing, and whereas in each of her numerous activities, Karen Amidon has reached out to a different segment of the town's citizenry, and whereas Karen Amidon has always given her utmost attention to all the Jamaica endeavors with which she has been associated, working to ensure the best possible results, and whereas one of her annual roles has been helping to facilitate local Christmas offerings that bring wonderful holiday cheer, such as the Secret Santa program and Santa Comes to Town. And whereas Karen Amidon has been a welcome volunteer at the Jamaica Community Arts Council, and whereas the Jamaica Historical Foundation has greatly appreciated the assistance she has provided, including service as the organization's president. And whereas the organizers of the Jamaica Old Home Day have regularly relied on Karen Amidon's support in organizing this special local celebration, and whereas Karen Amidon's interest in the political aspects of civil life resulted in her role as a member of the Jamaica Democratic Party Town Committee, and whereas on a more personal basis, Karen Amidon has organized fundraisers for families and individuals in need of financial assistance, and whereas Karen Amidon is a cherished member of the Jamaica community, and on town meeting day, on occasion that is one of her favorite annual events, it is fitting to honor this enthusiastic citizen for an outstanding contribution to the quality of life in her hometown. Now therefore be it resolved by the Senate and House Representatives that the General Assembly honors Karen Amidon for her devotion to community service in the town of Jamaica, and be it further resolved that the Secretary of State be directed to send a copy of this resolution to Karen Amidon in Jamaica. get to do in Montpelier is to honor the people who really keep this state moving. Because it really does happen, I think more so at the town level. Citizens like Karen keep our communities together and moving forward. So that was really exciting to be able to do. I don't have a lot of time. I have to get back to Londonderry to run the polls for school vote. So I kind of like to hear questions from you. At this point, because I'm new, I think it's really important for me to be listening, and I've brought information that I have a feeling you'll ask about, but I think I would like to just open up the floor to questions.
No questions?
How?
We got a full house and no questions? Throw something at them to see if they
Okay.
respond.
How about education funding?
There you go.
That's what everyone wants to ask about. I'm sure you've heard that there is some movement on revising the education funding system. The first attempt at it got scrapped, and so they went back to the drawing board, and this past week the House Ways and Means Committee sent out of committee and to the Education Committee H4 or 911, which addresses changes to the income tax that have to do with changes that happened at the federal level and education finance change. So they're trying to do a lot all at once. And I'll address the income piece of it first, because once those changes are talked about, some of what is happening in education makes a little bit more sense. So with the changes that happened at the federal level, there was going to be a substantial increase to Vermont state's income tax. And as a way of trying to ease that burden a little bit, they're hoping to return about $30 million in state revenue to Vermonters. And what they hope to be able to do is lower the income tax rate by 0.2% and collapse the two top tax brackets into one. And they want to create a Vermont standard deduction equal to $6,000 for single filers and $12,000 for married couples. They want to create a Vermont personalized exemption equal to $4,150 per exemption. They're expanding the Vermont earned income tax credit from 32% to 35%, and they are creating a 5% tax credit on any charitable donations up to $10,000. The other thing that they're doing, which actually comes from the governor's office, is changing the way Social Security is taxed in Vermont, and the taxable Social Security benefits below $45,000 for single filers and $60,000 for married filers will be 100% exempt from the state income tax. So once all of that happens, it's supposed to deliver about $30 million back to Vermonters based on the changes that happened at the federal government. In addition to that, they want to take a chunk of money from education funding and raise it through an income tax. And by doing that, they want to reduce the property tax rate. So they hope to be able to raise about $59 million with an income tax for education. The rates are graduated, so they would be included in the total rates that are coming down from the income tax. They're calling it a surcharge tax. The rates are 0.1% for the lowest bracket, 0.5% for the middle bracket, and 1% for the highest income bracket. With that reduction, or with that move, they want to be able to help pay for the homestead property tax rate, so there would still be that income sensitivity, which at first they were talking about doing away with. We're doing it differently. The one cost containment measure, which the first stab at it was really terrible, this stab at it is slightly less terrible, has to do with changing the yield. So people who are spending above the base per pupil spending amount will be paying a steeper tax rate for any spending above that base spending amount. So people who are paying less would see reduced rates, people who are paying more would see higher rates than we're currently paying. And it's like right now, if it's like this, they want to raise it up like this, but they were originally wanting to raise it up like this. So it's better than the first go round, but being punitive as a cost containment measure doesn't seem to have worked particularly well overall. The one place where there seems to be some relief in high spending districts is that the excess spending penalty is going to be done away with in this plan. So while you'll be paying higher rates, you're not also going to get clobbered with an additional penalty for spending more, which was kind of nice of them, but it still doesn't, solve the problem particularly well. They also want to split the education homestead reduction and a municipal homestead deduction, and they want to print them on two separate bills, which I plan on asking to amend. For some reason, they think if the information is on two separate pieces of paper, it makes more sense. I don't know, that one doesn't make any sense to me. I'm also a town clerk, so I happen to know that on one paper that we mail to everybody, all of the important information about what we're taxing you on is on there. The one good thing that they're doing in this proposal, and it's a revenue neutral piece of it, has to do with keeping the general fund and the education fund completely separate. So right now, there's a fairly substantial large chunk of money in the general fund that gets sent to the education fund every year. And every year there are, problems with it seeming like money that should be for education is being spent on other things because it sits in this pot of general fund money. So they're proposing that instead of doing that, sending all of the funding that is being raised for education directly to the education fund. It cleans things up, it makes things more transparent, and there's also an added benefit that it increases Vermont's bond rating by having the general fund be a slightly lower number, but the percentage of money that's held in reserve stays the same. So percentage-wise, we would have more money in reserve. So that's one piece of it that is actually positive, and because it's revenue neutral, could probably be done on its own regardless of how all of the rest of these details play out. Does anyone have any questions on all of that? Yes.
Just where would you read this in more detail? What's the best source?
Go to the Vermont General Assembly website, and there's a search for bills and resolutions, and it is H911. Yes. You were just waving to someone. Anything else?
I'd just like to say that I think, I'm Fran Janik, I'd just like to say that I've been dealing with Kelly for a while, and I think that Oliver made a great choice. She's really coming through, listening well, and acting. There you go.
Thank you, Kelly.
But I'll be seeing you.
And people can contact you how?
People can contact me. My email address is Kelly, just a Y, KELLYMPAJALA @gmail.com. And I also have a Facebook page that's me as representative. So you can find me on Facebook. I'm building a website, I just don't have it live yet, so I'm working on it. But if you really need to find me, I'm in the Londonderry Town office on Mondays from 8:30 to 4. Just feel free to stop by.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, here we go. Just a few things. If anybody needs a town report as we're moving forward, there's some right here by the ballot box. feel free to take them, they're extras. And list here. Also, anybody who's elected today, you need to sign an oath. Terry is the person who is administering the oath today. So if you get elected into any position, please see Terry, and you'll be official for the first time, whatever you're on meets. Very good. One last detail. This morning, I tried to remember that I'm not going to ask people to stand up when they make first and seconds. But when you stand up, please, and state your name when you're asking a question, just so everybody can hear it and we can get a record of it. So let's just try it. Very good. So now we're going to move on to Article 2, and that is to hear the report of the professional auditors.
Auditor's report was in the book, and if you copy it at the town clerk's office.
What page?
You would have to.
It starts on 11.
The auditor's report, town report, starts on page 11. And it ends on 33. Hours of enjoyable reading. Does anybody have any questions? If there are questions after this meeting, you can go to a select board meeting or ask one of the select board people to discuss it. If there's no more discussion.
Was it done by a professional auditor?
Yeah, Sullivan Howard.
Okay. Isn't there normally a letter that?
There is, and I put that. It's at the office if you want to see it.
Anybody else?
I move we accept the report of the auditors.
Thanks. Very good. All right. Now, all those in favor of accepting the auditor's report, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Thank you. Moving on to Article 3. This is the action portion of the afternoon. What we're going to go through now is to elect the following officers as required by law. The first position to come up is a select person for a term of 3 years by ballot. This is, Paul, this is this is the end of your term, correct?
Actually, the 3 years is the end of Lex's term.
Lex's term, sorry. So Lexa Clark, it's the end of her term. This is a 3-year term. Do I hear nominations from the floor?
Nominate Lex Clark.
I'm sorry, I declined.
Lexa declines.
I nominate Joel Blooming.
Joel Blooming has been nominated. Very good. Dana?
I nominate Paul Frazier.
Paul Frazier has been nominated. Sophia?
We did it.
Are there any more nominations? Hearing none, I close nominations. Please prepare your ballots for a 3-year position for either Paul Frazier or Joel Blooming. Please come down the center aisle and then go out the outside. It helps the traffic flow. Yes. Yes, Sophia. What's that?
Can this man at first?
Okay, yes, because your poll worker's fine. So down the center, polls are open, and up the outside. One vote apiece. Has everybody who wishes to vote voted? Very good. Polls closed. We are now going to the exciting portion of watching the JPs counting. Result of your poll, total number of votes cast was 83, which means that a majority would be about 42. Joel Blooming received 34 votes. Paul Frazier received 49. Paul Frazier is your select board for 3 years. When you have your small packet of green pieces. Just be very careful you're pulling one off at a time. Every new system has bugs. And Paul would like to address the body.
Lex is leaving after 12 years doing this job. Not sure how she survived that long, but I think that she set a great precedent for those of us who've been following, has been involved with this town for as long as I've been here, and probably 20 or 30 years. In fact, if I remember correctly, Steve told me that she started working for the town just about the time dirt was invented. We suspect that. We weren't sure. But I think that she has done an extremely good job, worked her butt off, not only with the emergency, the other stuff, but the select board, her projects, and I think leaving now, she deserves a round of applause.
Very good. One down. Continuing on. The next position is for a select person for a term of 1 year by ballot. And this is presently been Joel Blooming's position. So do I have nominations for this 1 year position on the select board?
Joel Blooming.
Joel Blooming has been nominated.
I'd like to nominate Tom Colbert.
Tom Colbert has been nominated. Are there any other nominations?
Greg Muehlman.
Greg Muehlman has been nominated. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, I call nominations closed. Prepare your ballot, either for Joel Blooming, Tom Colbert, or Greg Muehlman. Again, down the center. One slip of green paper. Polls open.
Is there a special where you want?
The result of your voting is there were 85 votes cast. 43 was the number to receive to get the position. Greg Muehlman received 17. Joel Blooming 26. Tom Colbert 41. You failed to elect. Please prepare your ballots again. Yes. Please prepare for one of those 3 individuals. And we go through again. Polls open.
You made it this time.
The results of your vote. 86 votes were cast, 44 were needed. Greg Muehlman's got 5, Joel Blooming got 26, Tom Tolbert got 55, Tom Tolbert is on the select. Okay, 2 down. Next up is a select person for a term of 1 year. Presently, this has been a position that was held by Paul Frazier. He's been elected. I don't think you can elect him again. So, do I hear nominations from the floor for the 1 year position of select person? Joel Blooming. Joel Blooming has been nominated. Are there any other nominations?
Greg Johnson.
I decline, but Greg doesn't. Okay, Greg Muehlman. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, I close nominations. Prepare your ballot. 1, please. Be very careful. Just 1. For either Greg Muehlman or Joel Blooming. Polls open. The result of your voting. 87 cast votes, 44 needed for the position. Joel Blooming got 37, Greg Muehlman's got 48. Greg Muehlman's is your select person. Very good. Now, moving on to the next position. It is a lister for a term of 3 years. Person in that position presently is Barbara Ferguson. Do I hear nominations for Lister for a term of 3 years?
Nominate Barbara Ferguson.
Barbara Ferguson has been nominated. Are there any other nominations? This is your chance, people.
Move to close comment.
Very good. It's been moved to close. May I have a second on that?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Very good. So, do I hear motions for the clerk to cast one ballot for Barbara Ferguson for the 3-year term of Lister?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Very good. Barbara Ferguson is your Lister for the next 3 years. Congratulations. Moving on. This is for first constable. Presently, it is Rob Willis back here. Are there nominations for position of first constable?
Nominate Rob Willis.
Rob Willis has been nominated. Nominations have been closed. All right. You threw me off. Do I hear a motion for the clerk to cast one ballot for Rob Willis as your first constable?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in agreement, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Rob's your first constable. All right, next is a position for 1 year of the second constable. The incumbent is Ben Williams. Ben Williams has been nominated. Second. Very good. Good, good. We're getting the pace now. Anybody close nominations? All in favor of closing nominations? Aye. Yeah, very good. Do I hear a motion for the clerk to cast one ballot for Ben Williams? Wait a minute. Wait till you finish. For second constable. Your turn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? You're in again, Ben. Excellent. Cruising along here. We're picking up. We're making up for all that voting. This is a position for 1 year for town grand juror. Presently, Stephen Clark has that position. Do I hear nominations for the position of town grand juror?
Stephen Clark.
Stephen Clark has been nominated. Any other nominations? Second. Thank you. I just will double up. Any other nominations?
Move to close nominations.
Nominations move to close. All in favor of closing nominations, say aye. Aye. Very good. Opposed? Just checking. Do I hear a motion for the clerk to cast one ballot for Stephen? Whoa, wait a minute. Let me get through this. For the position of grand juror and Steve Clark be in that position.
So.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
All? Aye. Aye. Opposed?
Everybody's getting off.
Stephen Clark wins again. Moving on, for a 1 year position of town agent. Presently, it is Peter Andrews, so it's the position. Nominations?
Peter Andrews.
Peter Andrews has been nominated. Second that?
Second.
Thank you. Any other?
Nominations be closed.
Nominations move to be closed. All agree with that? Say aye. Aye. Opposed? Very good. So I will entertain a motion for the clerk to cast one ballot for Peter Andrews to be your town agent for 1 year. Thank you. Second?
Second.
All in agreement, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Peter Andrews is your town agent for 1 year. Next, trustee of public funds. Presently, it is Stephen Clark who's held the position. It is a 1 year position. Do I hear nominations for the position of trustee of public funds?
Stephen Clark.
Stephen Clark has been nominated. Second that?
Second.
Any other nominations?
Close nominations.
Thank you. Very good. Nominations being closed. Everybody agree with that? Say aye. Aye. Very good. Do I hear a motion for the clerk to cast one ballot for Stephen Clark to be your trustee of public funds for 1 year?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor of this? Aye. Opposed? Stephen Clark is your trustee of public funds for 1 year. Agent to deed land. Stephen Clark. You might hear a little repetition here. Stephen Clark is presently in the position. Do I hear nominations for the position of agent to deed lands?
Lexa Clark.
Lexa Clark. Oh, we almost had a ballot running yet. Alexa has declined the nominations. Are there any other nominations? Steve Clark has been nominated. Any other nominations?
Move to close nominations.
Nominations moved to close, agreed to close, thank you, and all agreed to close the nominations, say aye. Aye. Excellent. Now then, vote for Steve Clark to be the agent of deeded land for 1 year, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Let it be registered, there was a no vote. However, the ayes have it, Stephen Clark is your agent to deed land for 1 year. Coming down the back stretch here, library trustee for a term of 5 years. Pleasantly, Janet Hamilton is in that position. I open it up. Who would like to nominate for the position of library trustee for the next 5 years?
I nominate Janet Hamilton.
Janet Hamilton has been nominated. Second that?
Second.
Any other nominations?
Close nominations.
Nominations have been closed. Everybody agrees, say aye. Aye. Very good. Therefore, we move on to the actual vote. Library trustee for 1 year will be Janet Hamilton. For 5 years will be Janet Hamilton. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Janet's on for another 5 years. Congratulations. All right. We're on to Article 4. Article 4 states to see what sum of money the voters will vote to pay the town's running expenses and how it is to be collected. Do we have a number? Hold on, we're getting a number.
To be raised by taxes is $1,115,190.
So the number is $1,115,190, correct?
It is on page 36 at the very top.
It is on page 36 of your annual report at the top, if you want to see where the numbers come from. I will entertain a motion to open discussion on this article. Thank you. Second?
Second.
Floor is open to discussion and questions. Yes?
Yes, I have a question for the Old Home Day. It's on page 33. We have a line item in there in last year's budget for $2,500 for Old Home Day. This year's budget has nothing in there. Last year we had a very successful Old Home Day. As you'll see the report on page 66 of your book, it explains where all of our expenses went and what we did and how many people participated or at least helped out. We need to request $2,500 to be added to the budget, and that is on page 33.
38. Page 38.
38?
Yep.
No.
Is that right? Of the budget. Yeah, we're looking at the budget now. Oh, I see, sorry.
Old Home Day.
It's right there.
Also, if you look at page 66, that'll give you more idea of what Old Home Days is about. I will entertain a motion. No. That's great, no, but we need
I would like to make a motion for that $2,500 be put in the budget for the Old Home Day Committee to carry on.
Second that. Very good, we have a second, excellent. Is there any discussion on this amendment? Hearing none? Oh, yes, Dan?
Was it not in there because nobody asked? Is there an Old Home Day Committee? What's the reason why it wasn't?
Andy? It was asked, but it was too late to get into the budget. They had to have the request by November. And when we did the report and made the request, it was too late. And it's not an automatic addition, like some of the other things are automatically put in every year. And we've had it for 3 years, and it didn't get put in this year.
And it's needed.
So I wondered, when does it become automatic that they would keep it in there?
Well, one thing at a time. We're dealing with the actual amendment that $2,500 be added to the town budget. That's the amendment. Is there any more discussion on that particular item?
Right.
Yes.
When we put the budget together, there's a lot of requests for different things, like, help me out here. Some-
639 gathering place. neighborhood.
They're all listed on page 39, and they do send us a letter every month asking for, every year, I'm sorry, for an amount of money. And that's the reason it didn't go in. We didn't, not put it in on purpose. Just, it wasn't a request.
Okay.
Is there any discussion?
Oh, that's the discussion now. Yes, we can discuss it.
Sometimes people make mistakes, sometimes they're minor errors. I had the good fortune of working with the Jamaica Old Home Day Committee for some 10 or 12 years. It's needed. If you don't want it, we don't have to do that. But I think we should add the money, because it's needed.
Yes? Okay, move to that second to, oh, sorry, yes, Bonnie.
I think once you get done and get squared away, we need to make an amendment to the original motion.
Right, I just need to get this to be made positive, then we go back to it.
Because I wanted these for a little correction with.
Yeah. Okay. Details, we're gonna get through this. I'm gonna try and get through this. So, right now, we have, the discussion is closed. Is there a second to closing discussion? Thank you. Do I have 2/3 of the group here? Please raise your hand to close discussion. Okay, thank you. I think that's more than I need. So, now we come to the vote. Mr. Johnson's amendment is that $2,500 be added to the town budget for use for Old Home Days. All those in favor of adding that $2,500 to the budget, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions?
One.
No, abstain.
You'll abstain. You got one abstention? Very
I'll
good.
abstain.
And there's another abstention too? That's the first time I've gotten abstentions. Thank you. You have to ask. So, that amendment has passed. Now, we can move on to Bonnie.
I would like to make the motion that we raise the sum of $1,117,690 by taxation for the running expenses of the town, and this, along with anticipated receipts of $234,717, will equal a budget of $1,352,462 to be expended. Taxes will be due and payable to the treasurer on Monday, October 1st, and will be delinquent on October 2nd, with an 8% penalty added by law, plus interest at the rate of 1% will be added starting December 1st until paid in full.
Now. Covering, but that's good. It is covering everything. So now, will somebody second this motion?
I'll second.
Very good. Now we can open it to discussion. Is there discussion on the question? Yes, Drew.
Did that number include the 2,500 we just added?
Yes.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Very good. Yes.
This is just in general for, under town buildings, there's $20,000 for the town hall repair and maintenance. What's the plan to do? What is?
Page number on that?
Oh, sorry, page number 37.
Page 37.
Town buildings.
Town building, he's looking at a $20,000 budget.
For the town hall repairs.
For town
Just
hall
curious.
repairs.
I know it needs it, I just want to know what.
The reason why we put that in is we belong to the Preservation Committee, which gives this an A1 rating as far as an old building. And we have been told that there are 3 areas that need work. One is the back wall needs to be painted. Evidently, it's in very bad shape. We also found out that part of the framing, what do you call that?
The sill.
The sill,
Yeah.
thank you, is rotted on this side of the building, and I think that's even going to take precedence over the wall, and that there are some problems with the roofing. And some of the leaks that we're experiencing is this, so we need to begin to do some of the work, or else we will not receive that rating that we have. So that's why we've requested at least $20,000 in order to start the process.
Jennifer?
I had a question about the village flags. I love the village flags, but we don't seem to have a budget for it, and we didn't vote for a budget for it. Is there a reason why? It's on page 38.
Page 38, question about funding for the flags. And I forgot, and I apologize. When you wish to make a question, please stand up and state your name. Let's just try. I'll try to remember. So the question of the flags.
We're talking about the flags on the,
Yeah.
because we have a lot of flags left over, so we didn't have to budget for any flags for this coming year.
Okay, thank you.
And they will go up again.
I love the flags.
Any other questions?
Move the vote.
Do I have a second on that? Second. There we go. All right. So now the amendment for the $1,000 has been folded in. We're covered by that. I'm going to have Bonnie state what she stated earlier because I can't remember it. And this is what we'll be voting on. So Bonnie?
Okay, I made the motion to raise the sum of, I gotta get back down here. Of $1,117,690 by taxation for the running expenses of the town, and this, along with the anticipated receipts of $234,772, will equal a budget of $1,352,462 to be expended. Taxes will be due and payable to the treasurer on Monday, October 1st, and will be delinquent on October 2nd, with an 8% penalty added by law, plus interest at the rate of 1% will be added starting December 1st until paid in full.
Do I have a second to that motion?
Second.
Thank you. Now, does everybody understand what we're voting on?
The budget.
Yes, the budget for this $1,352,462 with the penalties as Bonnie listed. That's what you're voting on.
Yep.
So, all in favor of this budget, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? So passed. Thank you, Bonnie. Moving on to number 5. To see if the voters will authorize the select board to borrow money in anticipation of taxes. Do I hear a motion to open discussion? Thank you. Second? Second. Floor is open for the discussion on this number 5. Right? No. Yes, 5. Any discussion?
Call the question.
Question has been called. Do I have a second?
Second.
Very good. Do I have 2/3 of the body? Please raise your hand to shut down discussion. Thank you. Therefore, you are now voting to see if the voters will authorize the select board to borrow money in anticipation of taxes. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? 5 is passed. Thank you. 6, shall the voters authorize the select board to spend unanticipated funds such as grants, gifts, and/or interest? Do I have a motion to open discussion? Thank you. Second? There we go. There we go. Is there any discussion on number 6?
Call the question.
Question has been called. Second? Second. Do I have 2/3 of the body agree with closing the discussion? Please raise your hand. That was good enough. Good. All right, so you are voting on number 6. Shall the voters authorize the select board to spend unanticipated funds such as grants, gifts, and/or interest? All those in favor of the article, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? So passed. Woo! All right, let's set the time on number 7. Number 7, to set the time for the opening of the next annual town meeting to be held on the first Tuesday, March 2019. Do I have a motion? Second? Ah, good. Micah? And now,
We got amendments to say 10 o'clock.
well, you,
I said 10 o'clock in my
Oh.
motion.
Sorry, we didn't.
You didn't stand up like you're supposed to.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean
It's too late now. Next season. Okay. No, 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock. And next year, we go back and forth between town and school board, so it would be 10 a.m. Correct. So this would make
that was the motion, 10 a.m.
10 a.m. Do I have a second? Okay, so what it would read now is to set the time, it would be the next annual town meeting would be the first Tuesday, March 2019 at 10 a.m. All in favor of that, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? So passed. Now then, we move on to the final bit. To transact any other business that may legally come before the meeting. What other business is announcements, anything that this body doesn't have to vote on, because if we were going to vote on it, it would have to be warned before this meeting. So this is informational. So is there anybody who wants to, yes?
I would just like to talk about Senior Solution.
What is your
I was
name?
my name is Janine Stone. Okay, I just received an annual report from Jamaica of the Senior Solution, and they say our toll-free senior helpline, which is 1-800-642-5119, answered 43 calls from our town. And the callers were assisted in applying for benefits, health insurance problems, housing needs, fuel assistance, and many other services. Extensive resources are also detailed on their website. And anybody who wants information, it does not necessarily mean that you have to be a senior. They will give you all kinds of information. If you're a person that needs information on Social Security, on disability, on housing, they are very helpful. They helped here in Jamaica. We helped 10 residents with Medicare Part D or Advantage Plan enrollment and other Medicare-related questions. What they will do, if you have any information or anything you want to know about Medicare or enrolling in any health plan, they will just give it to you. And through the arrangement with the Dam Diner, 1,034 meals were delivered to seniors at home here in Jamaica. They also sponsor the monthly Congregate meal at Jamaica Community Church, which is held every second Thursday for seniors. It's $3.50 for seniors over 60, and it's $4 for anybody else. It's a wonderful thing, and what they do, what we've done, is we've coordinated with the elementary school, and the 6th graders come, and they help us serve, and there's an interaction between the children from the school and the seniors, and it's really very, very interesting and nice for everybody. They will arrange special arrangements for non-Medicaid seniors who require medical transportation. And we provided 6 elder residents with in-home case management for a total of 66.25 hours to enable them to remain living safely in the setting they prefer. Often, a few well-chosen support services can prevent premature institutionalization. They're very pro keeping the seniors in their own home. And if you call them, they're there, they're available. What they're trying to do now is they're trying to get a nurse within this area for seniors. So Jamaica has given them $600 a year, which is really a wonderful thing. I think it's always there. It's in the
budget.
The budget. And I just wanted everybody to know what an important association they are. They are very helpful for seniors, but not only for seniors. So that's the annual report for
Who has a
today.
question?
Yes?
Paul?
If you all look on page 2, you will notice that our Jamaica representative to this excellent organization is vacant. Anybody interested in being, please send us a note.
I was talked into it.
That's the spirit.
And they tell me that they will get in touch with the select board.
Please do, because we make the appointment, and we'll be making that appointment with the next select board meeting, which is week after next.
Okay.
Or is it next week?
Well,
One of these weeks. At any rate,
Talked into it.
yeah, it's an excellent organization. You're exactly right, and you sound like an excellent representative. I just thought I'd throw that out.
We nominate him?
This is an appointment for them.
I guess that.
And I'd like to thank Mrs. Stone for sticking it up. Thank you. Mr. Goldberg, and then Jennifer, and then back here.
I want to talk a little bit about Jamaica Community Arts, our organization in town. We now have a website, JamaicaCommunityArts.org, so you can go out and see our shows that are upcoming. We're always looking for volunteers. If people want to help out, contact Pat Newman or myself, and you can help us with the shows. Some of the upcoming shows, we have the talent show, Jamaica Garden of Talent, on March 24th, which is going to be community members doing acts. Our opening act of the season then is the iconic Rusty DeWeese, the logger. I don't know if any of you have seen him, but he's fantastically funny, and we're really excited about that. For that show, it's going to be a little bit different than what we normally do. We're going to actually have advanced ticket sales, and tickets will be available March 21st at D&K's, at Nealman's Beer Store, and at the North Country General. And then we also, on Mother's Day, we're going to have Laura Milinelli is going to be doing a Mother's Day concert, as we did last year, so that was a lot of fun. The other thing that a big thing that we're doing is Sunday, June 3rd is the Best Little Arts and Crafts Show in Vermont. It's a town-wide event. This year we're not doing the whole town, we're concentrating on the town hall, but there will be some other exhibits on some of the other homes. We are looking for volunteers for that because it takes a lot to pull that off. So if people are interested, we'd love to have you join us and help us out. But thank you.
Say the website again?
JamaicaCommunityArts.org.
Thank you.
Yep.
Jennifer, and then I'll go back to Clara.
So, I'm not sure if everybody knows, but we now have a very big company at the library. We now can flush. It's a big deal. So, there's a few people I'd like to thank. We did thank them in the report, but Harry Robinson, Ray Valentine, huge amount of support in building that bathroom for us, which was amazing. And also the Jamaica Community Church for working together in this community of ours to supply water and septic. So we also have a new librarian, Cassidy. She's young, she's eager, and she's ready to see everyone's faces. So please stop into the library and say hello. We'll also be doing our summer camp again this year. It's very well attended and a lot of fun for the kids, so spread the word. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd just like to acknowledge that the town has lost a dear friend and a great volunteer in Tom Morris. And I think most of you here know that, but I just want to make that acknowledgement that he contributed so much to the vibrance of this town.
Yes. Go back here, and then I'll move back out here, and then I'll go back there.
Just wanted to, we talked about Jamaica Old Home Day, but we are looking for volunteers, and the bed race last year was extremely successful and fun. Think about building a bed. Every family. Stomskis, we expect to see yours again. And also, we are going to introduce.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Very good. I'm going to move back out here. Yes.
Chris Robbins, I'm a member of the Jamaica Planning Commission. I'd like to say a few words about what we've done and what we are planning to do. We've had a busy, first I should say the other members are Rebecca Ohm, Brian Ziroff, and up till yesterday, Veda Bassett, who's leaving us, and up till a few moments ago, Greg Newman. We've had a busy year. Our main project's been updating the town plan. It was approved by the select board in November, and it's now posted on our website, the town website. And it's pending approval by the Wyndham Regional Commission, which is pretty much a formality. We don't anticipate any hiccups. So having approved the town plan, the first item on our to-do list is to update the energy section of it to comply with Act 174. Act 174 expands the requirements for regional energy planning and sets very ambitious goals by 2050 for conversion to renewable energy, use of alternative fuel or electrical vehicles, and home heating conservation. And their interim goals for 2025 and 2035. This is a voluntary process. However, municipalities that submit have approved energy plans that comply with Act 174 receives what they call substantial deference in any decisions concerning commercial energy siting or non-siting. And the substantial deference is defined as they will comply with the provisions of our town plan unless there's demonstrated and convincing evidence that there's a greater good of the state involved. So if we want to preserve our long-standing town planning policy of keeping our ridge lines clear, it's incumbent on us to submit a compliant plan. Excuse me. We pretty much got a draft done. We're submitting it to the Wyndham Regional Council on the 1st of April, and after that we'll schedule an information brief and then a formal hearing on it. The final plans are due July 1st, and they'll be approved by August. Other things on our list, or the to-do list, are working on the water project, working on affordable housing, and updating the town survey. We now have 2 vacancies on the council. We would certainly appreciate if anybody would be interested in joining us. You can get in touch with us at our email of JamaicaPlanningCommission@gmail.com. That's all one word. Or buttonhole any one of us after the meeting. Well, I guess that's about it.
You're good, David. I'm going to go back here.
All of your dogs need to be licensed again this year by state law, and it's due on or before April 1st. So.
You're forewarned. Anybody else have any announcements? Yes.
Bob Johnson, and just to add what Karen had said about Old Home Days, we have set the date for July 22nd. That's the 3rd week in July. So it has been set, and we do need people to help out. We had a lot of very ambitious volunteers last year. Unfortunately, several people have either moved out of town or their jobs have made commitments, so they cannot help this year. And of course, we lost Tom Morris, who's been part of the committee ever since I've been around. So we do need help. So if anybody would like to help out, we've been trying to meet on the last Wednesday of the month, and we can certainly change the date if other people want to meet on a different night. But either see Karen, read the report on page 66 in your book, and either see Karen or my number is there, and let us know, because we really need other volunteers to make the program a success.
The date was set for a Sunday? Not Saturday?
No, that's Saturday, the 21st is Saturday.
Okay.
It's the 21st, it's a Saturday. It's the 21st, I'm sorry, the 21st.
Chris Clark? Chris Clark. I have a question. Who can represent Rescue Inc.? Stuart?
Yes.
I was wondering how that's going by replacing Londonderry, and you absorb Jamaica paid the $14,373, and seeing how that's going. I mean, living in East Jamaica, I don't know how the coverage is up there. That was part of the question of replacing Londonderry Rescue. How's the response time?
We'll cover that one.
Because that was a concern.
The responders are out the door
and generally under a couple minutes.
He gets these a little longer.
And oftentimes they are beating our own squad to the scene just because they are on staff and responding immediately. So as far as I know, it's working well.
It's close to my house, so.
Anybody else? Yes, Dana.
I can answer some to that. Yeah, they are efficiently out the door enough to almost beat my rescue squad out the door and almost making my rescue squad non-existent. Not needed, which is, it's neither here nor there. But, yeah, the call volumes have increased, folks. Gotta understand. So if Rescue Inc. isn't at your door right off, it's probably because they got 5 other calls going on in their various other places too. So we will respond, we will be there. It just, it may not be in a timely fashion. But Rescue Inc. is covering all of Jamaica now this time. We have not asked for any mutual aid coverage whatsoever from Londonderry. Somewhere down the road, we may want to forgo paying the $1,000 in the thing, as a bit, I don't know, thank Londonderry Rescue, because we're really not needing them. Rescue Inc. is covering their own, so.
Yes. I'll go here. Yes?
Carol Cantwell. I'm just curious, this all came about last year after I'd left the meeting, and there was kind of a superfluous meeting afterwards that we got to come and talk. Will there be any review for those of us that are at the edge and I'm like 500 feet from South Derry? I would very much like Londonderry Volunteer Rescue Squad to cover my area. And I know some of the people in that area feel the same way. Are there any provisions where this will be addressed? They are a totally free squad, so I was very surprised that the town decided to go with $14,000 towards rescue when, in fact, this service was being provided basically for free.
Drew? All I can really say to that is that it is an issue that you would bring before the select board because they're the ones that would appropriate the money. So Paul, do you want to address that?
Right. With that, with what you're saying, we will certainly hear any issues you have. We haven't heard of any issues in your neck of the woods. If there's been a delayed response or somebody you couldn't get a hold of, or, and this happens occasionally, Drew and his guys get completely swamped when we're the first ones on scene, just because of the reality of the excessive calls, that may or may not be impacting Londonderry as well. If in fact you guys have an issue about that, come to us. There's no currently built-in automatic review of that policy, but we will listen to you anytime you come to the meetings. And just let us know what your concerns are and give us some specifics about what may or may not have gone down, and we can take a look at the details and make sure that we take that into consideration.
Yes.
If we stay healthy, we won't have an issue. So I mean, we wouldn't necessarily be able to come if there hasn't been an issue to bring up.
But you still have an issue, and this is the place to go for you. And again, I remind people, on page 3 of your town report, it lists all boards and committees, when and where they meet. So if you want to know, it's right here. It's also on the town website. The information's out there. Find it and go. They'd love to see somebody out in the seats. Is there anything else? Yes, Drew?
I do want to speak to what Dana said. I think it's really important that we understand that EMS is a system. It's a delivery system that relies heavily on all of the players. And I would completely disagree about not needing first response. First response in every one of the towns that we serve is critical. Right now, we're about 6,000 calls a year, and believe it or not, they don't get scheduled. So it could be the next 12 hours with no emergency calls at all, and then we could have 22 calls in a 3-hour period. So first response squads not only help us by getting to the scenes first and providing life-saving care, but they also help in times of surge capacity, along with those relationships and mutual aid agreements with other towns. We've been very fortunate. We've served 15 communities. We were able to cover 100% of the emergency calls in our district last calendar year. I can't tell you for certain that we're not going to get 25 calls in the next 10 minutes, and we're going to need those first responders and those ambulance services that are joining to us to come in and help us out. Locally, your first response squad needs help. They need people, they need volunteers, the same as we do. And I would absolutely encourage people to join your local first response squads because that is the first critical link to our EMS system. Just because most of the time the ambulance is out the door within a couple minutes, and I live in Rossingville as well, and our response time to Rossingville is 10 minutes, doesn't mean that we don't need first responders. They play a very valuable role in our system, and I can't encourage people enough to join the local volunteer service and help the community.
Yes. Unfortunately, we've had to call, 911, and we're in East Jamaica on Turkey Mountain Road, and I have to tell you, the response was very fast, very professional, and I can't, say how wonderful they are. So I thank you, everyone who's involved with the rescue, because they were very quick, Chris, and I'm in East Jamaica, so no problem.
Very good.
Yes.
I needed them in September, and they were at my house so short time. And Drew was there with his ambulance crew, and they're excellent. Wonderful care and speed.
This is what we need to know. Thank you. Raymond?
Next year at town meeting, is it possible for you to have a microphone up there on the stage? Some of your voices don't carry out, and some of us old people don't hear too good. So, is there any possible way of, we must have one in town, though.
I think that will be taken up by the select board, yes.
Or the old people can join us.
That's why I'm sitting up front.
There is a system here that we use for the show, so there is a microphone in the back and PA system that we can set up for each.
Okay, good. Thank you. Paul, would you introduce the new town clerk?
Are you still with us?
Yes.
I was sort of afraid that after witnessing this, she'd be gone by now. Sarah is our new town clerk. Terry was filling in as the town clerk until Sarah's up to speed, so she'll be doing all the oaths and stuff. But Sarah comes to us highly recommended. It's still a mystery why she, after watching us work for a week and then coming to here while she's still here, but we're really glad to see you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next year, she's going to be in charge.
Is there any other business come before the meeting?
One.
I want to make a few more announcements, then you can motion.
I think he wants your job, Greg.
No, I'm on the wrong side now, yes.
Last before we adjourn.
Huh?
Last before we adjourn.
Last before we adjourn.
Yeah. So we'll be here.
All right, so one thing I want to remind people, everybody who has been voted into a position today, you need to sign an oath. Terry has the paperwork, it can be done now, so when your next meeting comes up, you're fully legal and ready to go. I want to remind people that polls are open to 7. Please visit these poor folks, because when we leave, there's going to be nobody here. Tell everybody to come and vote. And I'd also like to thank Bonnie. You saw how she saved us in the town portion, knowing the institutional history she had, made things infinitely easier for us and me especially. Thank you, Bonnie. And I'd also like to thank all the candidates who put themselves forward, and all the incumbents who have served so long and so well for our community. Thank you very much. Paul, your last?
Yes. 2 things. The 12th, which is next Monday, is when we have the next select board meeting. I couldn't pull it out of my head when I was talking earlier. we as a body made a decision early this morning that I want to emphasize that was really the right decision when we re-elected this man to be our moderator. You have done a superb job in my head when I was talking earlier. Keep at it, we won't let you go.
As long as I'm in this position, I can't be in any other, and I really like it. All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Second? All in favor? We're done until next year. Thank you.